Namaste. Hi, I want to show you a few things today that will really help your lumbar spine. So if you notice, well, you probably can't notice because I'm sitting in such a way, but I am sitting on a block. So this is a nice big block here. And there's my nice old dog here who's going to check out what we're doing. And I'm sitting on a block, and you need to go back up into your bed. Come on. So I am sitting up on a block here, and you'll notice that I'm just grabbing my sitting bones and pulling them back and apart. Now, what I love about the block is that it's firm, and so you can really feel your sits bones. And you'll notice that there's a few different ways you can sit on your sits bones. And if you've never felt them, it's a good thing to just bring your fingertips underneath your sits bones and feel those pokey little bones that are sticking out there. Most people sit on the back of their sits bones, so they roll their pelvis under and they get a really flat back, and it makes the shoulders round and then the head go out. It's sort of like that typical computer stance. And this over time is not really good for your back. And so sitting up on a block enables us to sit forward and bring those sitting bones back so we get a little bit of a lumbar curve. I hope you can see that. And so if I take my fingers and my thumbnails pointing up, I can just draw those up the spine and feel how that lumbar spine, especially low, moves in. And if you just move those fingers or those thumbs up the spine, you'll notice that there's a natural little indent that happens below the waist. So many of us feel that lumbar curve right here, and we can push that forward and back at the waist, but I want that to be more stable with the front ribs drawing back. I want the lumbar curve to be a little bit lower. So when you're sitting on this block, and if you don't have a block, you could use an old dictionary or something big like that. I want you to feel that you're sitting more on the front of your sits bones. So not directly on them and not behind them. And if that's all you do, can you see that how that helps my posture? No longer it's harder to sit like this than it is when you're sitting up like that. So if you're starting a yoga practice and you want to know how to sit up nice and tall, that's a great way. Here's another nice way you can do that. And I need to put you back up on the couch because you need to go back up into your bed. There you go. So you're going to take the same block, and I really highly recommend a yoga block for you to practice with. They're easy to find. You can find them at most sporting goods stores anymore, but really, really handy, especially for those of us who are aging and are getting stiffer. You're going to bring that block, you're going to lie on your back with your knees bent, and you're going to bring that block so that it captures the very top edge of your pelvis. So that's called the iliac crest there, and you want to grab that. And then you want to let the hips fall on the far side of the block, and you can kind of lift up and accentuate that a little bit. So I use my elbows down and I press my head down and I let my hips spill over. At first this can feel a little awkward because you can be a little sticky in your lumbar spine, especially if you're used to sitting at a computer all day or in a chair for work or for whatever you're doing if you're sitting too much. This will help that lumbar spine get unsticky. So I'll do that for a few minutes, and I keep working to grab that iliac crest there and let the hips spill over, let the booty spill over. If I really am open, I'll eventually get my hips to the floor, but many of us, that's just way too much. So you just breathe here and feel the opening, and you might even notice an opening in the pelvic floor here. So when your knees are bent and your hips can drop, there's a natural opening in the pelvic floor. If you take your feet and you shorten them a little bit, almost like you're trying to grab the floor underneath you, palm it like a basketball player might palm a basketball, and then you bring your shins, you squeeze them a little closer, you might notice that activation will help, and you'll start to feel that curve even more. And you just breathe. You try to keep the feet active and the shins drawing in, and see if you can take the sitting bones wider from each other, or the thigh bones wider from each other, and you'll get even more arch there. All right, so that feels really good. And then very gently, because we were there for a few minutes, come out of it, activate core, bring the core in here, and ease yourself back up onto the block. Now you can take that block down lower. This is just such good therapy for your spine. At the end of the day or the beginning of the day, this is a great way to do it. So now my hips are really supported by the block. So I really feel that broad area underneath my pelvis that's really supported. And if you take your hands, I call these robot arms, and you take them and you adhere them down. And can you see when I push them down, I can lift my chest. Now, I wouldn't recommend looking like I am to the side. This is not very good. So I'm going to change that and apologize for not looking at you. But I'm going to look straight up to the sky, because we're going to be doing some weight bearing on our neck. And when we weight bear, we really want the face to be straight up. So again, I'm going to push those elbows down and lift the heart. And I'm going to imagine that space at the lowest part of my spine as if I could draw that in and up. Like I could start the arch of my back from the lowest part of the back. And then I'm going to just articulate. I'm going to take my mind, my breath, my action up into the spine, one vertebra at a time, all the way up until I feel that articulation all the way into my neck. And I'm breathing here. I'm pushing down with the head, down with the elbows. And once again, working inside to pull that spine in and up all the way up the back, through the thoracic spine, all the way through the cervical spine. One more breath. And then very gently release. Whew, that should feel good. And then just as kind of a counter stretch, you can take one leg up into the sky, get a little hamstring stretch. Some of you are going to feel this right away. Some of you aren't. I'm going to keep my front body stronger here. So even though as my leg is lifted, I'm going to pull my belly in and up, and I'm going to bring my ribs in and my sternum in, and I'm going to extend the other leg up to meet it. My hands can still be in that robot. I can still find the arch, but now I'm going to want a little more core work here. So with the pelvic floor open, so the shins, feet are short, the shins hug into the midline, the thighs move back and apart, and I'm going to draw my belly in and up and see if that helps me press down and arch a little bit more here. And now we're getting a very safe hamstring stretch with the spine, with the lumbar spine active. And then you're going to meet that with belly, ribs, and sternum action down into the body. That's core work. And you're going to start to feel this. Couple more breaths. This can be so healing for the back. And then release. Whew. And just let those legs drop down. You can take your arms out to the side like a big airplane arms. You can drop the knees together as the feet go wide and just let that rest into the body and see how that feels. And if it were me, I would do this again. So you can pause this video and then start it all over again and do this a couple times. And I think you'll notice at the end of doing it 1 or 2 or 3 times, your back's going to feel a little more warm and a little more fluid, and you're going to have all those great curves that your body was designed to have. Namaste.
If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and check out my other videos. Namaste.